Hello, everyone. It's Cassandra Williamson with the Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America Action Group and the Cassandra Williamson Show. Welcome to Thursday, and I think what is today's date anyway? December 14th. And we're going to look into Project 2025 at this time in chapter 15 and 17. We'll look into that, and we'll roll the intro. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here. It's another beautiful but chilly day down here in Northport, Alabama, and the beautiful deep red state of Alabama. Okay, so we're going to continue our conversation, digging into Project 2025 of the Heritage Foundation. So let me go and just start sharing the page now so we can just go ahead and get started and dig right into it. And here. All right, so first thing is, I do want to say that this is from Project 2025. It was copyrighted in April of 2022 or 2023, whenever they first published this book. That's called, let me go right over here to show you, Mandate for Leadership, The Conservative Promise, 2025, forward by Dr. Kevin Roberts, PhD, Early American History, edited by Paul Dans and Stephen Groves. And as I said before, copyright of 2023. Okay, so we're going to be looking into this thing, and we've been covering all these different chapters, but you need to remember a couple of things from the foreword that was written by Dr. Roberts, who happens to be the president of Heritage. So we know that this is something that is paramount to what they are considering and thinking and want to implement. And why is this such a dangerous project, and why is it so horribly bad for the country, for all Americans? Well, it imposes a form of theocratic authoritarian fascism on the country, Christian nationalism. And if you don't believe it, go look up what it means to be a fascist. Lawrence Britt wrote something in 2003 that actually gives you 14 points to consider. And you can look at those and decide, does this organization actually fit these parameters, those 14 points? And yeah, surprisingly, not unsurprisingly, actually, they do, all of them. So what we're going to talk about today, though, is chapter 15 and 17. Now, why not chapter 16? Well, I did a word search in chapter 16, and I didn't find or phrases or commas or comments or anything like that that had to do with sex, gender, woke, certain specific words, diversity, things like that. I didn't find references to that within the document. And I could have missed something, obviously, but I just use a search option in PDF documents, a little magnifying glass. Go look and dig into it and find it for yourself. You can download each one of these chapters separately if you'd like, or download the whole thing, read the mandate. Don't buy the book. I think it's sold out right now anyway, but you can download for free, read the mandate, click on that button, and it'll take you over there. And you can just download the whole thing, or if you're like me, I wanted the full thing as well as each individual section. So each one of these is clickable. You can download separately. And that's what I did. So now we're down here in chapters 15 and 17. So let's just go dig right into 15. Let's take a look at it. Here we go. Chapter 15. Now, I've already been through this thing and highlighted some of the sections that are important. So I'm just going to scroll through it and find highlighted sections. All right, reset HUD. This effort should specifically include a broad reversal of the Biden administration's persistent implementation of corrosive progressive ideologies across the department's programs. That's the first one. Wait a minute now. Here's the next one. This is faith-based stuff. Each of the following offices should be headed by political appointees, except where otherwise noted. Now, look, I don't know if y'all remember much about the Soviet Union, but they had political operatives, political officers in every military unit in the nation, submarines to ships to battlefield units, everything. They had a political operative, a communist political operative assigned to each unit to maintain the ideological purity and to report any people who were going against it. going against this ideological definition or the criteria for that particular leadership. So, I mean, they had them assigned to the unit just to report on people. They were the snitches, okay? And you're going to put a political appointees in over all of these things in the executive branch. So right here, I mean, the Office of Administration, I'm not going to read all of those because there are a bunch. Office of Public and Indian Housing, you name it, Government National Mortgage Association, Fair Housing, Equal Opportunity, you name it, every office. All right, so now this section, though, the HUD section was written by Dr. Ben Carson, okay, and everybody knows about Ben Carson. He ran for president, but, you know, he's one of those, he's a far-right thinker and a surgeon, a doctor. So this is what he wrote. Ideally, Congress would, let me just go down here. This is in progressive policies. That's the biggest thing about this whole section right here is ideally, Congress would redelegate authorities that have been diverted to HUD's administrative bureaucracy and safeguard taxpayers against the mission creep that inevitably occurs when Congress delegates power to an empowered and unelected bureaucracy that is insulated by civil service protections. That says they're saying a whole lot right there in that one sentence. That's what he's saying in this one whole sentence. Because if the new president is conservative and wins the presidency in November of 2024, this coming year, if a conservative wins, then when they take over an office on January the 20th of 2025, one of the things they're going to do is restructure the civil service protections. They're going to eliminate it. They'll sign executive order. It has to do with Schedule F. It's a thing that Trump had put into place just prior to the end of his administration, and Biden obviously reversed that. But that's one of the first things they want to do is make sure that they write that executive order and put it out there that creates Schedule F. And that means that all the federal employees, the civil service protections, that all the employees in the executive branch of the U.S. government, they become at-will employees. That means they can be fired and hired at will, replaced. And then any of those people who are knowledgeable in those fields, you know, like running a particular office, they've been doing it for a while. They know the ins and outs of it. They're leaders and thought leaders in their areas of expertise, going to be replaced with, you know, Uncle Bob's third cousin from down in the holler who doesn't know squat about that office. But, you know, he's a big talker for the conservative side of things, so he gets his way. That's the way this is working, folks. Let's scroll on down. There, here's one. The secretary should initiate a HUD task force consisting of politically appointed personnel to identify and reverse all actions taken by the Biden administration to advance progressive ideology. Goodness, y'all. Repeal the affirmatively furthering fair housing regulation reinstituted under the Biden administration and any other uses of special purpose credit authorities to further equity. We don't want anybody to be able to be treated fairly out there on an equitable basis, do we? We don't want that. No. Obviously. Scroll on down. Uh-oh. So we're down to the end of this one. This one went through pretty quickly, okay, because HUD just has limited authority anyway in a lot of different areas. So anyway, that covers chapter 15. All right, now let's drop out. It's going to say that, and I'm going to go to chapter 17. Now, why didn't I cover 16? Well, as I said at the top of this show, when I did a word search within that chapter, I didn't find the things that were related to things like sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, you know, abortion or social or faith or woke or LGBT. I didn't find references to those words or diverse, things like that. When I went through it and I did that little search and didn't find anything in chapter 16. Chapter 17, however, is a different story. This is the chapter on Department of Justice, edited by Gene Hamilton. Okay. Let's scroll down through here. Let's see what we can run into. Dun, 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 dun. Whoops. What did I see right there? Oh, no. Let me just scroll quickly because there's quite a bit in here, but I think there it is. Okay. where warranted and proper under federal law, initiate legal action against local officials, including district attorneys who deny American citizens the equal protection of the laws by refusing to prosecute criminal offenses in their jurisdictions. This holds true particularly for jurisdictions that refuse to enforce the law against criminals based on the left's favored defining characteristics of the would-be offender: race, so-called gender identity, sexual orientation, etc., or other political considerations such as immigration status. Okay, you heard it here. That's what they want to do. Let's scroll on down. Keep looking for the yellow box or the pink ones, which are one I set up in your next. I don't know. It just takes a moment to scroll through. Okay, here. And this is the section: pursuing equal protection for all Americans by vigorously enforcing applicable federal civil rights laws in government, education, and the private sector. But obviously, civil rights doesn't apply to any minority populations which they do not like. And no matter how much you say you're going to enforce the federal civil rights laws, well, they're not going to. No, they're going to strip out all the things they don't like and then just say this is all it applies to. But they want the right to discriminate. They've actually made that very clear in other chapters that we've read, like yesterday. Even though numerous federal laws prohibit discrimination based on notable, immutable characteristics such as race and sex, the Biden administration, through the DOJ, Civil Rights Division, and other federal entities, has enshrined affirmative discrimination in all aspects of its operations under the guise of equity. Okay. Federal agencies and their components have established so-called diversity, equity, inclusion offices that have become the vehicles for this unlawful discrimination. Just all you can do is just shake your head at the ignorance of these comments. And all departments and agencies have created equity plans to carry out these invidious schemes. Oh, wow. To reverse this trend, the next conservative administration should jump down. Ensure that the DOJ spearheads an initiative demonstrating the federal government's commitment to non-discrimination. Now, look, that sounds all really cool, doesn't it? Except that they want the right to discriminate against all those people in the LGBTQ plus community. As stated in previous chapters, really, folks, how hypocritical do you think that these people are? Well, they don't care. None of this is based on any kind of relevant science whatsoever. All of their thinking and all that. They like to throw out all this data and this crap out there to make it sound like it's science, but it's pseudoscience. But their real motivation is Christian nationalism. Period. Across the line. That's what it is. Just ask Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. The department should also lead a whole of government recommitment to non-discrimination. Can anybody just say bullshit right there? They don't mean that. They only mean it as long as the word discrimination applies to certain characteristics that they happen to agree with. And should be working with all other federal agencies, boards, and commissions to ensure that they are both complying with constitutional legal requirements and using their authorities and funding to prevent discrimination not only internally, but also at the state, local, and private sector levels. This will require particularly close coordination with several key agencies, including such obvious candidates as Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Wonder why they threw that one out there first. Yeah, because, they're supposed to protect everybody, even including those who are in the gender community or the various different gender identity communities or things like that, or sexual orientation communities. The Departments of Defense, Education, Housing, and Urban Development, and the Securities and Exchange Commission will also require enforcing contractual requirements that prohibit discrimination on federal contractors. Okay, and then the next big one. Reorganize and refocus the DOJ Civil Rights Division to serve as the vanguard for this return to lawfulness. Anyone see the stupidity in that statement? The Attorney General and other DOJ political leadership. Now we go back with those political appointees again, Uncle Bob's third cousin down there in the holler. should provide the resources and moral support needed for these efforts. The Civil Rights Division should spend its first year under the next administration using the full force of federal prosecutorial resources to investigate and prosecute all state and local governments, institutions of higher education, corporations, and any other private employers who are engaged in discrimination and violation of constitutional legal requirements. You have to keep in mind, though, that they're redefining this discrimination and removing protections for other classes of people that they don't like, folks, because they're going to go after anybody else who's actually supporting protecting those people. Okay. And this one now is particularly egregious. This is one that's really, really bad. Actually, the Supreme Court is going to be is taking up this case, and we'll hear about it in June of next year, probably, something like that, how they rule on this. But this is all surrounding what's called the Comstock Act. This is from 1873. It's an anti-abortion thing, but it's also anti-pornography, lewd and lascivious items, behaviors, conduct, morality. This is, you need to look in 18 U.S. Code sections 1461 and 62. And I've got them pulled up. We'll get there in just a second. Announcing a campaign to enforce the criminal prohibitions in 18 U.S. Code sections 1461 and 1462 against providers and distributors of abortion pills that use the mail. Now, they just stopped right there at mail. Now, let's go take a look at this really quickly. What is 1841 or 18 U.S. Code section 1461? It's mailing obscene or crime inciting matter. And then this is in the code. This is written that way. It hasn't been struck down or anything like that. Every obscene, lewd, lascivious, indecent, filthy, or vile article, matter, thing, device, or substance, and every article or thing designated, adapted, or intended for producing abortion or for any indecent or immoral use. Every article, instrument, substance, drug, medicine, or thing that is advertised or described in a manner calculated to lead another to use or apply for producing abortion or for any indecent or immoral purpose. Every written or printed card, letter, circular, book, pamphlet, advertisement, or notice of any kind giving information, directly or indirectly, where or how or from whom or by what means any such mentioned matters, articles, or things may be obtained or made, or where or by whom or any activity kind for the procuring and producing of abortion will be done or performed, or how. So in other words, they're stopping this law. This is an act that was actually passed by Congress in 1873. Okay. And it covers every darn thing, but this is just the mailing part of it. The mailing part of it, folks. And that takes care of pharmacies that are sending you stuff like, condoms or abortion pills or anything like that, morning after pills, anything like that. It covers everything, mailing these things to you. But they actually cover anything that they want to define as being for the purpose of indecent or immoral use. Not defined in here at all, but widely. It covers a whole wide list of things that are by no means any of those things, immoral or indecent. Okay. But this is just 1461. Now let's just go over and look at 1462. This one talks about the importation or transportation. So now this part of the Comstock Act actually prevents the transportation by any means of any of these things to be distributed, say, like at a pharmacy. So the pharmacies would not even be able to receive these things, any obscene, lewd, lascivious, or filthy book, pamphlet, picture, motion picture, film, paper, letter, writing, print, or any other matter of indecent character, or any obscene, lewd, lascivious, or filthy phonographic recording, electrical transcription, or other article or thing capable of producing sound, or any drug, medicine, article, or thing designed and adapted or intended for producing abortion, Oh, it just goes right on down the line, folks. This is this actually, you can mail it. You can't mail it, and there's 1461. They stopped the mail from being able to be used to transport these things or to convey these things to the people. And here we're talking about transportation. So it's under this act, and this is actually law now. This would stop suppliers from providing these resources of any kind, whatever it might be, to distributors locally. Okay. Federal law, let me put it right here. Federal law prohibits mailing every article, instrument, substance, drug, medicine, or thing that is advertised or described in a manner calculated to lead another to use or apply it for producing abortion. But these two acts, the 1461 and 62, go way beyond just talking about abortion. It covers everything else out there that, Christian nationalists don't like. Everything. Following the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs, there is now no federal prohibition on enforcement of this statute. The Department of Justice in the next conservative administration should therefore announce its intent to enforce federal law against providers and distributors of such pills. But if they go to enforce 1461 and 1462, then it's going to cover a whole slew of things, from printed materials to internet, social media. Any way of conveying this kind of information, they can ban it. If they don't like it, if they don't like that you're talking about your cousin who happens to be transgender, and you use the word transgender, they can do something about it. They've got the law to back them up now. Comstock Act, 1873, it was never abridged. It was never nullified. Here we go. Okay, jeez, be ready. This thing will impact every single American out there. Let's go on down. We're looking for more. Keep scrolling. Bear with me as we scroll down the page. I think that was probably one of the bigger things up there at the top that I just read. All right. Now we're going to talk about the hiring practices in DOJ. Undertake a comprehensive review of DOJ hiring practices. All hiring committees associated with hiring for career positions across the department should be assessed for impartiality to ensure that individuals are hired based on merit, aptitude, and legal skill, and not based on association with or membership in certain ideologically aligned groups, or based on illegal considerations such as race, religion, or sex. That's all fine and good, except that their way of applying this thing is from their perspective as theocratic, authoritarian, fascist, Christian nationalists. That's just the way it is for them. And that is it, folks. That's the bottom of the line for that one. All right, so we've now covered up through chapter 17. I'm not going to go into any of the other chapters at this point in time, but we'll tell you come back this evening, and we'll jump into some other chapters and look at it some more, because I want everybody to know just how horrible this stuff is out here, and that it's going to impact every American in the country. If we allow a conservative person to win the election in November of 2024, and they take over in January of 2025, then this will be on top of mind for that next conservative leader. Because Heritage Foundation has that kind of pull and that kind of reputation. They've had it for 50 years. And they first started doing this in 1980, by the way, with President Reagan. After he won in 1980 and took over in 1981, they handed off their first version of the mandate for leadership. And they were able to get 2/3 of it accomplished then. The one they've got for 2025 makes that one look like a kindergarten play. Makes that first one look like that. This Project 2025 is beautifully designed, well thought out, very detailed, with all the planning and structure that it needs. It is very specific. This is an action plan. This policy statement, this long thing is 920 pages long. This is an action statement. It has actionable things that can be done immediately when somebody steps into those offices. So let me go back to the front page here so I can see where we are. 5 comments up here, Junia, the DAA. Okay. Oh, Angela, you were asking about this. Okay. The NDAA are surgeries in or out of the revised version. They're still in. They're still in there, covered and protected in the NDAA, the new one that just passed out of the House this morning. It's one of the reasons that the Freedom Caucus people over in the House are all upset about the biggest thing that actually was covered, that actually made it through both sides and actually was accepted by both sides, was that on military bases, posts and all that, they could not fly things like the pride flag and any flag that was not authorized. So if the new administration authorizes these flags and makes them approved flags, then they can be flown. But any unapproved flags can't be flown. And that's the biggest thing that actually made it through the conference committee. Most other things in there that the House wanted, the Senate did not want. And so they were conferred out. They were conveyed out of the thing. Because I looked at it last night and checked into it just to see. But what I saw this morning was that, it had made it out of the House. And the biggest thing was about the flags, approved flags flying on military posts. There was another topic in there that was covered, but it had nothing to do with our medical care or healthcare. It had to do with drag shows on bases. And that was the other thing that both sides, the House and the Senate, had agreed upon. So you got pride flags, but if you can get them approved, then they can be flown. But as long as they're not approved, they can't be flown in this version of the NDAA. And the other thing is banning of drag shows on bases or any money being spent for it. So those are the 2 big things out of it that I saw today. Let's see. You see, if you hear of any Republican presidential candidates, they all are repeating talking points. Yes, they are. And they're doing it in a very systematic manner. That's right, Junior. You're exactly right. I've been telling people that for the past 3 or 4 months now, that what we're seeing around the country is this concerted effort led by this playbook that comes out of Project 2025. And you see talking points just coming right along. And every one of them are doing it. And if you hear one of these conservative people out there running for president, if you hear them saying, no, I don't want to do all that, well, believe me, when they get in office, they will do it. That's their goal. This is theocratic, authoritarian, fascist, Christian nationalism applied from the federal government down. Wait a minute here. Nikki Haley, Meatball Ron, and Vivek Ramaswamy all repeat Heritage Foundation talking points. Yes, they do. Let me see. Nikki, Trump, and Hills Haley, Meatball Ron, and Vivek Ramaswamy, Nazi Swami. Repeat Heritage Foundation talking points. That they do. And some of them are worse even than the Heritage Foundation's talking points. Let me see. What no one is saying is that the Religious Freedom Act that Trump signed is the catalyst for the actions described in the Heritage Foundation manifesto and the catalyst for taking away abortion. Oh, that's a large part of it. That's for sure. They're going to hide all of their discrimination and discriminatory beliefs and thoughts all behind religious freedom. For sure. Can we now press for the VA director to move the plan for surgeries off his desk? Yeah, absolutely, Angela, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I really want to go stand up there in front of their building. I know that some people are saying that has no impact, but I'm going to tell you that if you can get the media out there, like you and I have spoken about before, get the media out there with you, plan for these kind of things, get a crowd out there, it'll raise a stink over it. I don't know that it will cause him to move anything off of his desk. I don't know what the impact will be, but it really, such an action wouldn't be for that. It would be to get the national attention focused on the fact that veterans aren't getting the care that we have earned, period. and then doing the same kind of thing in front of a Heritage Foundation, sometime mid next year, late April, May, something like that. I think you and I spoke about that yesterday. So yes, absolutely. We've got to go take it to them. We've got to start this fight. We can't be sitting around here and doing nothing. There's an email I got just the other day. Let me see if I can find it really quickly and I can share that with you, because this talks about the differences between different types of things that need to happen. And it's something that's missing right now in the Democratic Party, because conservatives, it's looking like conservatives can take this thing. And if we don't stop it now, we're going to be up the creek, folks. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me see if I can pull this up and we'll take a look at it really quickly. This email was pretty interesting to me. Let me go back to my screen where I can share, present, share, window, share. Okay, so this is an email that came to me from the Hartman Report, okay, on Substack. And we'll try to increase the size here, make it a little easier, more legible to see. This is 200. That ought to be easy to see, huh? Okay, as I said, this is by Tom Hartman, Thom Hartman. It's the Hartman Report, published yesterday morning, I think, or December 12th. It was Tuesday. December 12th at 9:13 a.m., 2 days ago. Will a democracy movement emerge to take on the growing forces of fascism? If Democrats haven't figured out a way to match the passion and fervor of Trump's MAGA movement with their own passion and action-driven movement, things could get really ugly in the next year's elections. True. Tom Hartman is exactly spot on with this. Exactly spot on. And look, most people, particularly Democrats, never speak of Donald Trump and Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. in the same breath of context, but the very strategy that King used to help end legal discrimination in America is what Trump is today using to try to win back the White House in 2024, movement politics. So let's go down here. As of this moment, the biggest mistake the Democratic Party and most Democratic politicians are making is not realizing that political movements and political parties are very different things. President Obama understood the movement politics, yes. Political parties, this is how he defines these differences, and this is crucial and something that we need to be getting down on here in the movement section. It's great to have policy discussions, but that's not what sways people. How do we get health care for the most people in the most efficient way? What kind of legislation would best deal with poverty and make our streets safer? How do we raise money to spread our message and get people out to the polls? Those are political party deals that deal with policy and practicality. Movements, on the other hand, deal with identity and passion. They spawn activists and evangelists. I'm in the street because I'm mad as hell that those idiots in the state capitol outlawed my right to health care. Hey, buddy, in the next booth over there in the diner, I just heard you mention Trump, and I want you to know he's a liar, a con man, and a rapist. There's no falsehood in that statement, that's for sure. Officer, I believe that a new and better America is possible with the ideas of our movement. I'm willing to let you arrest me for it. And then Tom goes in and says, the Democratic Party today is no longer involved in movement building. So I wanted to share that because I think it's crucial. We need to be drawing the distinction here, okay? Let's go picket for them to move on it. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's go picket for them to move on it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Got to get the VA to move and the White House, because it's going to take a little bit of pressure from the White House to get the VA to get off their ass. And so, not pocket an educational initiative. Yeah. So, yes, absolutely need to be doing this. I mean, it's horrendous that we are sitting here. We're talking about it. We're trying to warn people about this. You can talk on academic levels, and I can tear apart the entire policy statement of Project 2025, but no one listens. It makes me feel like I'm Cassandra, the mythical Cassandra from Greece, the prophetess who was in the cave and then nobody was listening to her. She prophesied all this stuff and nobody listened. Nobody was getting energized and getting off their darn asses and getting moving. Well, we've got to do this now. We've got to start moving. We can't be sitting around doing nothing, folks. We need the movement to kick off. So I will say this, I'm going to close off the discussion for right now. I'll pick all this stuff up again this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And with that, hope everyone has a great day.